At my daughter's first birthday, my husband stood up and announced, "She's moving in with my mom full-time. You're just the mother, not the parent." Gasps filled the room. I took out a folder and smirked. Actually, a judge might disagree. His face dropped as he flipped through the documents. When my daughter's first birthday approached, I decided to host a small gathering at our home in Austin, Texas. The guest list included close family and friends who had been part of our journey since her birth. The house was decorated with balloons and streamers, and the aroma of freshly baked cupcakes filled the air. Laughter and conversations created a warm atmosphere as everyone celebrated this milestone. As the party progressed, my husband stood up, tapping his glass to get everyone's attention. The room quieted, all eyes turning to him. "I have an announcement to make," he began, his voice steady. "Starting next week, our daughter will be moving in with my mother full-time. You're just the mother, not the parent." Gasps filled the room. I felt as if the ground had been yanked from beneath me. The audacity, the betrayal, it was all too much. But instead of reacting with the shock that was bubbling inside me, I took a deep breath, reached under the coffee table, and pulled out a folder I'd prepared weeks ago. "Actually," I said, my voice dripping with a calm I didn't entirely feel, "a judge might disagree." His confident demeanor faltered as he took the folder from my hands. Flipping through the documents, his face drained of color. Inside were records of his infidelity, financial irresponsibility, and, most damning, a restraining order I'd filed just days prior. Let's rewind a bit. My husband and I met during our college years at the University of Texas. He was charming, with a smile that could disarm the most guarded hearts. We married shortly after graduation and settled in Austin, where he worked in tech and I pursued a career in marketing. Our life seemed picture-perfect from the outside. However, cracks began to form when I was pregnant with our daughter. He became distant, often coming home late and being evasive about his whereabouts. I attributed it to work stress, not wanting to believe the worst. After our daughter was born, his absences became more frequent. One evening, while trying to soothe the colicky baby, I received a message from a mutual friend, a photo of my husband at a bar, intimately close with a woman I'd never seen before. Heart pounding, I confronted him when he returned home. "Who's she?" I demanded, showing him the photo. He glanced at it, shrugging. "Just a friend. Don't make a big deal out of nothing." But it wasn't nothing. Over the next few weeks, more photos and messages surfaced, each one a nail in the coffin of our marriage. Determined to protect myself and our daughter, I consulted with a lawyer. We gathered evidence of my husband's infidelity, his financial recklessness, including maxed-out credit cards and drained joint accounts, and his neglectful behavior. The restraining order was the final step, prompted by a particularly heated argument where he punched a hole through our bedroom wall, inches from where our daughter slept. Back to the party. My husband's hands trembled as he read through the documents. The room was silent, the weight of the situation pressing down on everyone present. "You can't be serious," he whispered, looking up at me. "I'm very serious," I replied. "You thought you could make decisions about our daughter without consulting me, undermine my role as her mother, and get away with it? Think again." His mother, who had been sitting smugly in the corner, now looked panicked. "What is she talking about?" she demanded. "Mom, I didn't think she'd go this far," he stammered. "Didn't think I'd protect my daughter?" I shot back. The guests began murmuring, some shooting my husband looks of disdain, others offering me sympathetic glances. Realizing he was cornered, my husband's facade crumbled. "I messed up," he admitted, voice shaking. "I thought I could control everything, but I was wrong." "Damn right you were," I said. "Now, if you'll excuse me, I have a birthday to celebrate with my daughter." With that, I turned my back on him, scooped up my daughter, and joined our friends and family in singing "Happy Birthday." My husband left shortly after, his mother trailing behind, both of them too ashamed to face the consequences of their actions. In the weeks that followed, the legal proceedings moved swiftly. The evidence I'd gathered ensured that I was granted full custody of my daughter, with my husband receiving supervised visitation rights. He moved out of our home, and I began the process of rebuilding our lives. Friends and family rallied around us, offering support in countless ways. I enrolled in therapy to process the betrayal and trauma, determined to be the best mother I could be for my daughter. One evening, as I was putting my daughter to bed, she reached out, touching my face with her tiny hand. "Mama," she cooed, her eyes full of trust and love. Tears welled up as I whispered, "I'll always protect you, my love. Always." And in that moment, I knew that no matter the challenges ahead, we would be okay. So I thought it was over. I really did. After the birthday blow-up, the custody hearing, and the restraining order, my daughter and I finally had peace. She was sleeping better. I was sleeping better. I even caught myself laughing again. But then, like a bad smell that refuses to leave, he started showing up. Not at the house, he knew better. The court order was clear. But suddenly he started running into me at the grocery store. Then again at the gas station. Once outside daycare. Each time, the same smug smile. "I'm just grabbing some milk," he'd say, looking down at Lily like he had the right. I documented every incident. Time, date, location. His words, his tone. I even started using a dash cam in my car. He was careful. Never close enough to break the restraining order, but always there, watching. Then came the mail. A letter. Handwritten. From his mother. "You may have tricked the court, but everyone knows children need their fathers. And their real family. My son may have made mistakes, but you will not keep my granddaughter from me. Consider this your warning." I reported it. My lawyer said unless it was a direct threat, nothing would stick. "Consider this your warning" was vague. Deliberately vague. So I put in a security system. Bought a bat. Got a dog. Every time Lily cried at night, I jumped out of bed. I was sleeping with one eye open, waiting for something to go wrong. Then one day, something did. I got a call from her daycare while I was in a meeting. They said someone had come to pick up Lily. Said he was her father. Said I'd approved it. My blood went cold. Luckily, the daycare director knew better. She'd been there during the early mess. She stalled him. Called me immediately. By the time I got there, he was gone. But now I knew. He was testing boundaries. I contacted my lawyer again. He filed for a motion to restrict visitations even more. But the court date was weeks away. I felt like I was playing chess with someone who didn't care about rules, just outcomes. Then came the worst part. Lily started asking for him. She was too young to understand everything. All she remembered was that once, there was a man who gave her cookies and lifted her high in the air. Now that man was gone. And when I said, "Daddy can't be here," she cried. Every time. It broke me in places I didn't know could break. I started second-guessing myself. Was I doing the right thing? Was keeping him away from her hurting her too? But just when I started questioning it all, I found something. My neighbor, quiet guy, retired cop, dropped off a flash drive. Said he noticed someone sitting in a parked car on our street too often. So he installed a camera in his front window. I plugged it in. Clicked play. There he was. Mark. Parked across the street. Just sitting in his car. Lights off. No phone in hand. Just watching the house. Some nights for hours. That was all I needed. I called the police. Filed the footage. Got my lawyer to expedite the court date. And this time, I wasn't just asking for limited visitation. I wanted it gone. No contact. Forever. But Mark wasn't done yet. He was just getting started. A few days before the expedited court hearing, I got a letter. Not from Mark. Not from his mother. From another woman. I almost threw it away, thinking it was junk. But the handwriting on the envelope, neat, almost too neat, caught my eye. Inside was a folded piece of lined paper. No return address. No name. "You don't know me, but I know him. I'm sorry it's come to this." I thought I was the only one. That was it. No signature. No explanation. I stood in my kitchen, staring at that note for what felt like forever. My stomach twisted. I'd expected drama from Mark. I'd expected manipulation from his mother. But this? I messaged the number I still had for one of Mark's old coworkers, a guy named Derek. We'd only met a few times at work parties, but he was always decent. Honest. I asked him straight up, "Do you know if Mark's been seeing anyone recently?" His reply came fast. "You didn't hear this from me, but yeah. 2 women. At least. He was juggling them while you were still married." That's when I realized. What if this letter was from one of them? What if they had no idea either? I went into full research mode. Searched his name on Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn. I found an account under a different name, but his picture was there, clear as day. Mike Turner. No mutuals. Barely any posts. But it had tagged photos. That's how I found her. Jessica. Blonde, early 30s, 2 kids of her own. In one photo, Mike was holding her baby. Smiling. Playing dad. I messaged her. It took guts I didn't know I had. "Hi, Jessica. I think we need to talk. If you're seeing someone named Mike Turner, I think he's actually my ex-husband, Mark. He's been stalking me and trying to take our daughter. I'm not trying to cause trouble. I just think you deserve to know who he really is." She didn't respond for 3 days. Then finally, she called me. Crying. He told me he was divorced. Said his ex was crazy. That you were an addict, unfit to raise your child. I nearly dropped the phone. "He told me your daughter was his from a previous relationship," she added. "I didn't know you existed until I saw your name on some of his mail." That's when I sent the letter. Jessica agreed to talk to my lawyer. She gave a sworn statement. And not just about him lying to her. She had screenshots of him badmouthing me, trying to get sympathy, twisting facts. He was trying to rebuild a new life using the same lies he'd used to tear mine apart. But there was more. Jessica admitted something else. Something I wasn't ready for. "He said he was going to take your daughter," she whispered. "He said if you wouldn't let him see her, he had a backup plan." I didn't know what he meant at the time. But it scared me. Now the pieces fit. The stalking. The fake attempt at daycare pickup. The car across the street. He wasn't just being controlling. He was planning something. Something big. I took all of it, Jessica's testimony, the flash drive, the messages, and gave it to my lawyer. He took it to the judge. A new restraining order was issued, this time airtight. Any violation, and he'd go straight to jail. But before the hearing could happen, I got another surprise. A knock on my door. It was CPS. Child Protective Services. I let them in, heart racing. They said they'd received an anonymous tip, claiming I was neglecting Lily. That I was unstable. That I'd locked her in rooms for hours and had violent outbursts. I sat there stunned. But not surprised. This was his move. He was trying to flip the narrative. Paint me as the threat. Try to gain sympathy, maybe even custody, if he was desperate enough. I gave them everything. The court documents. The footage. Jessica's letter. I showed them Lily's room, her toys, her daily routine. After a thorough check, they left. One of the agents said quietly, "You're doing a good job. This smells like revenge." Yeah, no kidding. So now I was fighting on 3 fronts, keeping my daughter safe, fending off his legal manipulation, and undoing the lies he'd spread like wildfire. But the biggest twist? It wasn't just about me anymore. Jessica wasn't the only one he'd lied to. I found out, through another message, that he'd proposed to a 3rd woman. In another city. Under another name. Mark. Mike. Matt. Same guy. Same game. And I wasn't the only one trying to stop him. After CPS left, I didn't sleep for 2 nights. Every creak in the house made me jump. Every car driving by made me peek out the window. Jessica and I stayed in touch. She became something I didn't expect, a weird kind of ally. She warned me when he showed up at her place. She said he was getting sloppy. Angry. Desperate. Meanwhile, the court date finally arrived. This time, Mark was trying to fight the no-contact order. He claimed I was alienating him from his child. Claimed I'd brainwashed Jessica into lying for me. But he didn't know what I'd brought to court that day. First, the daycare director testified about the pickup attempt. Then, the police officer who reviewed the street footage confirmed Mark had been stalking my home. Then came Jessica. Nervous but strong, she gave every detail. But the real twist? That third woman, the one he proposed to in another city, she showed up too. Turns out, she saw a Reddit post Jessica made in a support group. That post saved her. And when she realized I was still in the middle of the storm, she drove all the way from Tulsa to testify. She brought receipts. Literally. A fake engagement ring invoice. Photos of Mark with her kids. Voice recordings where he admitted he had a crazy ex, me, and was waiting for the right moment to take full custody of Lily. The courtroom was silent when that played. Mark's face turned gray. Then he snapped. Right there in the courtroom. He stood up and started yelling at the judge, at me, at the women who had stood up to him. "You all deserved it," he shouted. "You made me do this." That was the last nail. The judge gave me sole custody permanently. Mark lost all visitation rights. Not even supervised. He was banned from contacting me, Lily, or any of the witnesses. Forever. If he did, he'd go to jail. But that's not all. They arrested him. Right there in the courtroom. Not for just the stalking or violating the order, but for fraud. One of the women had filed a police report after he emptied her savings account. He was facing multiple charges now. Fraud, harassment, false identity, attempted custodial interference. All while I stood there, holding Lily in my arms. But now I'll admit something I never told anyone before. I wasn't perfect either. I'd seen the signs early in our marriage. The lies, the sneaking around. I ignored them. I thought, maybe I can fix him. I let things slide. I protected his image in front of friends. I stayed longer than I should have. For Lily. For family. For comfort. That was my mistake. I won't make it again. In the weeks after, I packed up and moved. New house. New locks. New number. I kept in touch with Jessica and the others. We weren't friends, not really. But we were something else, witnesses. Survivors. People often think revenge is loud. Fire. Fury. But mine was quiet. It was walking away with my daughter in my arms while he screamed in handcuffs. It was living. And making damn sure he never had the power to break anything again. Not her. Not me. Not anyone.